The feminine works a lot in myth and archetype. And it's important to understand the arc of experience in this path and how non-linear it is. So I'm going to walk you through the sort of the myth of the journey. And by myth, I don't mean untrue. I mean the allegorical um, metaphor to ground into. And then understand that it's also completely nonlinear. So it's a mind fuck in the best possible way, right? Actually, the whole one of the premises of this work is the mind fuck. Get out of here, right? And and so it will contort the mind, and the mind is not going to know what to do in this place. That is sort of the nature of the ego death, and it's all perfect. So this is the story, the allegory, right? This path is that sort of ancient crooked witch's finger beckoning you down this path, right? And she's sort of cackling hysterically, and she's like, come with me. And you're feeling a resonance, and you're like, I'm ready to try a different adventure. I've been on this external adventure. And if you're here, granted, I'm not minimizing the amount of spiritual work you've done. You've probably done a lot, or you wouldn't be here, because you have to be really ready for this, right? So you're like, you've been out in the world in this sort of external seeking mode, and you've done a lot of spirituality work, and you just finally hit this point where you're like, there's nothing more I can do out here. It's all about going in here into the great void, the endless, boundless adventure of the unknown terrain within, the subconscious, the accumulated karmic lifetimes of patterns and wounding. And so when she beckons you down this path, there's a familiarity. You're like, I know I'm supposed to go there. I don't know what's down there, and it looks wild and overgrown and dark and a little bit terrifying. And I know I'm supposed to go there. There's a resonance. And it's like she's a little familiar, right? You're like, I've studied with her before. I've learned in her mystery schools before, and it's time for me to come back online. And she doesn't beckon to anyone. She doesn't. Because she knows, like, you've got to be in a place where you can really receive this medicine, and the beautiful opening that's on the other side of it in every moment. I mean, like, every time you kind of like crest an edge and it melts away, there's this expansive opening, this release. It's an orgasmic release. It's tantric truth. And then you see the next edge, right? So getting ahead of myself, here she is, and here I am, and we know each other. And so I'm like, all right, I've been walking this path, sister. Come with me. I'm going to show you what I know. But this is your path, not mine. And so we go, right? And we walk through into this sort of like overgrown, very dank, wet, wild descent. And the path goes down. And as the path goes down, we start to lose our purchase, right? You start to lose your sense of what's up and what's down, and all the old ways that you've navigated and you've held on. You can't even hold on anymore. The path gets so slippery, you just slide. And then you'll hit an edge. And when you hit that edge, that's where life is showing you something that is untended inside of you, a karmic wound, an energy pattern that is stuck, that you have been subconsciously operating under your whole life. And now, because you've chosen the inner landscape for exploration instead of the external world, all the external world is that mirror, that trigger for you, the messenger that says, ooh, there's something inside there. Go within, find the edge, find that spot and feel it. Where do you feel it in the body? It's literally stuck energy in the body in that spot. And the karmic integration process will walk you through kind of how to sit with that. And in the meantime, you already know how to do this, really. So you go there and you sit with your edge and you bring your lantern and you say, it's safe to come out now. It's safe to come out now. And whatever that pattern is can finally, in the space of your neutrality and your acceptance and your allowance and your compassion and your permission, it can come out and show you what it has for you. It's just been like a puppet running the show in the external world. But now that you know that the external world is there to walk you within to the pattern itself, and you go there and you say, what do you have to show me? It has information. It has past lifetimes. It has your inner child and what your inner child is telling you. It has the core belief system that has been unconsciously controlling the show. It has within it everything you need to know, but you've just never really, because the felt sense of the pattern is so icky that you've just been in the external world trying to manage things so that you don't have to feel it. But now you're just going to say, I'm going to go feel it. I'm going to go see what's there. I'm going to give it space to rise and see what's inside of it. And the moment you say, you just drop the story and you go in the body and you say, like, to the stuck energy in the heart or the stomach or wherever you're feeling it, and you drop the story and you say, you are allowed. You have permission to be. You are not wrong. And you breathe into it. And you give it space and you give it breath. Inside, right there, there's an orgasmic release. Just in the moment when you're like, oh my God, there's nothing wrong here. I can feel this feeling. I have the capability, the ability, the holdingness to be able to just like let this thing be. And once you look at it, you're like, this isn't even that scary. Why have I been avoiding this for so long? And then to further say, okay, what do you have to tell me? What's the message? And again, I'll walk you through that in the karmic integration process. And then you sit with it, and perhaps there's a little girl inside of there that's, screaming to the world, and you're able to comfort her and tell her what she needs to hear, so you don't need it from the trigger that's got got your back on you. And you're able to, from that place, get really neutral. You don't even need the trigger anymore because you are your own. You are tending yourself. You are giving yourself what you need. And then you get that delicious neutrality on the other side that allows you to be in your truth instead of in your unconscious reactions, right? And be so clean and clear with the world. That edge that you thought was like the edge of your ability to take up space, the edge of how big you're allowed to be, the edge of your own self-limits, it dissolves. And it's no longer this like big mountain. It's just like goes away, and the fold integrates in the matrix and goes away. And you're like, wee, and you slide until you hit the next edge. And it's endless and boundless and eternal. And with each integration of the edge, each cresting of that edge, where all you do is sit with it and it opens to you. You're not resisting, you're not forcing, it just opens to you when you go to it and you say, you have a space at the table. You can come out now. What message do you have for me? You get bigger. You get big. You get different. You become the essence of who you are, that massive, giant divine being, the multidimensional being who chose to come here and condense themselves into this human body, right? But really, the body is the magician, and it's through the body that we find and remember who we are. So every time you integrate one of the edges, you untie the knot and release the energy, you take up more of who you really are. Like a can of those biscuits where when you open it, like the biscuits just like pop out and you cannot put those biscuits back in, right? So every time you untie one of these edges, you bring the lantern in and it opens to you. It's another can of biscuits opening. And you become so immovable, just like those biscuits, they cannot be put back in. That, and then all that is for you that's in resonance with that is, it's a natural attraction to your energy, and it's easy because you don't have to contort yourself for it. And anything that's not for you, it's like a natural repellent. It just goes away. And so this is the allegory. This is the work. This is the journey. This is the endless adventure of the inner landscape, the boundlessness within, and the path. This is the path of the feminine. So when the can of biscuits explodes, that's sort of like you landing in your body, right? And then from there is the Renaissance, where then you express from that place, and you that automatically calls to you all that is for you. You know, that's your roar. And so, but what I want you to know about this process is, even though the allegory is linear, the actual process itself is not. So you're going to have spaces in your rewilding where you're experiencing your reclamation, where you're experiencing your renaissance. You're going to have spaces in your renaissance and your roar where you're still in your rewilding, right? So just know that as you walk down this path, the mind wants to make it really linear, and the allegory can be helpful, so you kind of know where you're coming from and where you're going, and know that the feminine is, she's wild. So she gives you pieces of it everywhere. And so you may be in your roar, your rewilding, your reclamation, and your renaissance all at the same time. Now, I happen to know that, you know, in the beginning, it is a lot of dismantling, right? And that we do need to find our embodiment and land in our body in order to be able to have that truthful roar. So there is something of a, you know, certain phases of the process are richer in certain experiences than other phases of the process. And yet it all goes, and it's all the process. So welcome to the weird, wild, and wonderful feminine path. I'll see you in the next video.